it was a really great style because most Koreans played it, but no one in Europe played it, so I thought that Europeans are going to be that good against that. So that's why I started playing it. For a time I thought it was better than Bio, but at the moment I'm not too sure anymore because I've started to lose kind of a lot playing it. So I think it's good, but I'm not sure if it's better than Bio.
For me, I would say the one place that I watch other players play that I get inspired from is probably the GSL. And for instance, like I watched Life win GSL just this last one, and watching him do certain builds that inspires me to like try and be more innovative and be more creative in how I play, or maybe just copy how he plays. But I mean, I like watching people that I feel that are better than me, and I feel like the best place you can watch that is the GSL because the skill level of the average player in Korea, especially in the GSL, is just insane. So that's probably my main source of inspiration. And then watching anybody win a tournament and walk out and have that celebration is always something you can aspire to have happen to you as well. So that's probably, I would say that's it for me.
For me, it's not like I focus on one player. I just watch the high-level leagues, and the players that win is the ones that I copy strategies and so on. But I don't focus in any player in particular. I just look the better players and just copy what they do.
Yeah, more or less the same. I watch a lot of games from every pro gamer I get to see, like especially Koreans, but I don't look up to anyone that much. It's kind of like I try to do my own stuff, and I have my own gameplay and so on. So yeah, I watch a lot of games from a lot of players, but there's not any specific one I am looking at to.
I think the gap is still really big. I think it's maybe a little bit smaller than it was before, because you have people like Stefano who are beating people in like the Lone Star Clash that just happened recently, and but there's definitely not enough for me to say that the gap has really been closed because not enough people are doing that. There's still very few foreigners that can take on Koreans in like a tournament-based format. Because sure, there's a lot of foreigners that could beat a Korean in like a show match, I would say, but to actually be like to compete with Koreans like one after another in a tournament, there's very few foreigners that can actually pull that off. So I think the gap is still pretty big.
Well, more or less, I agree with him. I think there are some foreigners that are at the same level than, well, on a similar level to top Koreans, but I think that there are still a lot more Koreans on that level. So it's really hard for a foreigner to win a tournament when he's facing a lot of Koreans. But no, I don't think the gap is getting closer. I just think that there are a few foreigners that are on the same level, but overall I think that it's still huge.
Yeah, skill-wise, I don't think there's like a very big gap. Because if you compare top European players, like for example Stefano or Nerkio, they have shown more than one time that they can win top Koreans. Like you saw Nerkio on IAM Comm, for example, he ended up second, he won MC 3-0. I think that the gap is not that big skill-wise, but on how many pro gamers there are. On Korea, for every pro gamer in Europe, there are like 30 pro gamers on Korea. So it's kind of like you play a tournament and you have to play a Korean, then another Korean, then another. So at the end you will end up losing. But that's just a statistic. I don't think the gap in skill is that big. But of course, yeah, there are many more pro gamers in Korea.
There was a couple of odds of him online, but it was very limited in the amount they had. So it was really hard to study for him, and in the first game, actually, like I had no idea what he was doing. I thought he was all-inning. So, I mean, he did the same thing third game though, so I knew how to change my playstyle, because I knew what he was going to do. But in terms of preparing for him, it was definitely very difficult. There was basically no information on him online. I know I prepared a lot of easy, just like grinding out lots and lots of games constantly. I think you can prepare for it. Obviously lane bailing micro is something that can be definitely very random, but I think if you prepare for it, the amount of time that you screw up your micro will still, you won't mess up as much basically. And And yeah, I think you can prepare for it. So.
Yeah, well, it's a matchup you can prepare for, but it's kind of like the things that will be determining in the game are, for example, at the early game, your micro with link daming. Then it's kind of like on late game, it's all about position in the battle. So yeah, you can prepare for it, but it's kind of like then on the tournament it's gonna be probably different from every single game you've played. Also, no, yeah, that's it. For example, if you are playing a tournament and then you open 15 hatch, then maybe he's opening 9 pool and you are suddenly dead. So it's a very weird matchup you can prepare for, but I don't think it's that easy to prepare for it.
For me, I would say I prepare for it by just trying to like brush up on my scouting, my like micro, macro, all just like the core mechanics for the game, because there's too many like variables that can happen. You can't just prepare for like a build order and expect that to be like it's something that's going to beat your opponent. And this mic is going out. Thank you. Hello. But I feel like if you just have good scouting in ZVZ and like let's say you're really paying attention to when he takes his gases and you know what that means, you watch his upgrades, you see how fast he takes a layer, you see how aggressive he is at taking a third or how many units he's making, all those things, like you can, as long as you practice enough to understand what everything like that means, it doesn't matter who your opponent is, you can still read them really well, and then you can kind of go from there in the game and you can make a good decision on how you're going to go about continuing from what you've already seen. The game right now, I would say it's a little Zerg favored, and everybody reminds me of that every day. But I don't know, the game's turning into the expansion really soon now, so I think changing it might be a little needless. Like the tournament season's already over for the most part, and there's going to be like a lull in the competitive scene for the next few months, like in January, February. There's not too much going on. I would say if Blizzard changed something, it might just kind of throw the tournaments off. That might happen in that time frame, but Heart of the Swarm is going to change the game a lot anyways, so I think like the game definitely has a few problems right now, but I don't think changing those problems right now is going to fix everything. It'll just create new problems that could possibly happen. So I would say just let the expansion happen and then go from there, and then nobody really knows what's going to happen in the expansion as of yet, because no one's really played tons of games, no tournaments have happened on it yet, so there's still a lot of room to explore in the expansion.
Well, I play Terran, so many people say that at the moment Terran is kind of weak. But for me, as long as Terran players win tournaments and so on, I can blame it on my race because people who play my same race are winning things. So I don't really like to say that Terran is weak and so on. The only thing that I find kind of annoying, it's like infestors when there are like too many. Like when there are like maybe 20 or more infestors, I feel like something is really hard to do. But overall, it's not that much of a big problem for me. And yeah, I agree with Pipe that changing something when Heart of the Swarm is so close makes not much sense. Because with the new units, I guess the game will change a lot. I haven't played Heart of the Swarm, so I don't know, but it must change. So yeah, I wouldn't change anything right now. I would just wait for Heart of the Swarm and make sense.
Well, about Heart of the Swarm, I haven't seen much of the beta already, so I don't really know if it will change something. But right now, I feel that yeah, probably there's Zerg is probably a big imbalance. If you look at tournaments, there are too many Zergs coming out of nowhere. So yeah, maybe it's slightly imbalanced, but I think that every day the game is getting like more balanced, we could say, because every player is learning how to play, and it's kind of like the game is getting a bit standardized. And will I change something? I don't really know, because if you nerf infestors, then Zerg is going to be like the worst race by far. I will just leave it like it is and see how the game is in the next 5 months before Heart of the Swarm, and that's it.
Just two things that I think that Blizzard should maybe think about incorporating. Well, first of all, I think units that stop the opponent from microing in general are just not units that I think are very good. So think about the Infestor, the force fields for sentries, concussion shells even to an extent, even brute lords because they block your opponent from getting close to you. I think those kinds of units really kind of make the game less exciting and just make it really frustrating for people because if you get bungled, you can't move. It's really frustrating. So I mean, we'll see. I know they're trying to incorporate something, you know, make it a projectile or make it only slow. So I mean, that's a good first step to solving that. And then another really cool thing that I think Blizzard might want to consider incorporating is there's this thing called dynamic unit movement. It's a thread on Team Liquid, so if you guys want to read that real quick whenever you have time. But basically I think it would solve a lot of the issues with the game and make the game a lot more exciting. And I mean, I don't know, I don't think Blizzard would probably incorporate that, but it would solve, you know, death ball and stuff like that. So I think those are two things that Blizzard should consider. For me, how I practice, on EG we have required streaming hours, so I make sure I get at least the bare minimum amount of practice in every month. And I practice a lot with practice partners. I've been doing a lot more custom games because ladder has proven not too good on North America. It's like 90% Zerg and it's not very good for practicing. But I still do practice on North America. I just have a bunch of practice partners that I play with all the time. And I think you said working out. I think being healthy is a good thing to be. I think it makes you play better if you're healthier. So I mean, I've been trying to recently go to the gym like twice or every 2 days. Sometimes I'm not always that consistent about it, but in general I try and do that. And where I see myself in 20 years, I mean, I would love to see myself working in esports or something. I feel like that would be like a very fulfilling job, and I don't know, I think esports will grow and continue to grow. Right now I'm still in school though, so I mean, if things continue the way they are, I mean, in 20 years, hopefully, I mean, I'll be out of med school or something like that. So that's what I'm currently doing.
About the first question and training habits, well, I'm a part-time student, so I don't have that much time to train. So I try just to play 2-3 hours a day. It's when I stream games. And then for preparing for tournaments like that, I try to play a bit more, maybe 6-7 hours, all I can, all my free time. And yeah, I think, you know, eating healthy, working out and so on are very important things. You know, a healthy body is a healthy mind. So yeah, I think you gotta take care of those kind of things too. And about the other question, I think esports are growing a lot this century. I mean, if you compare the tournaments nowadays to the tournaments 5 years ago, they are so different. Like, we didn't have big tournaments like this at all. So I think this century will definitely be the century of esports. But maybe in 20 years, not every one of us will be able to make a living out of it. But, well, if it's possible, I hope I'm there, maybe on Starcraft 5 or something. But, yeah, I think it will be definitely possible to make a living out of this in 20 years. Actually, it's possible nowadays too. But, yeah, I think it will be more globalized in 20 years.
As for my practice, well, most of the time I just play ladder, like maybe on average I would say, since the last 2 months it's been like 5 hours a day, maybe some more. Because, well, I have a lot of tournaments and I really feel like playing in the last month, so I'm playing all the free time I have. As to exercise and so on, I must say, unlike them, I don't do anything at all. I think I should, but I don't know. And I don't eat too healthy either, but I'm planning on changing that someday. About if I see myself on esports in 20 years, I don't think so, because for me it's all about playing. Like, I really love playing, but the traveling and so on, it's not that, I don't know how to say it, it's not like the things I enjoy the most. For me it's all about the game, so I'm studying a degree as well, so I see myself working on something in a job that has something to do with that, I hope.
My training habits, I would say, it's kind of been the same throughout my whole Starcraft 2 career, I guess, but I always play on Korea. I very rarely will play on any server but Korea, and I play, I don't even know, probably on average 4 hours a day. Like, I won't always play a lot. Sometimes when I really feel like I want to grind, I'll play maybe 8 to 10 hours in that particular day, but any average day I'll do about 4 hours, and then I'm always on Skype with teammates and friends, and then if anyone wants to like specifically practice, I'll do practice games. And then I'm actually pretty fortunate too about where I live, or my internet and where I live, I guess, because I have really good latency on every single server. Like all the major ones at least, I have really good latency on Europe, on North America, and Korea, so I don't really care who I practice with or where it is. It's like, it's still quality practice to me. And then in terms of like my lifestyle, it's pretty unhealthy. Like, I'm probably one of the worst people in terms of like a sleep schedule to actually maintain one. Every like half the time I don't even know what day it is, so I'm like, I wake up and it's the middle of the night and I don't even like, I can't tell if it's Tuesday or Thursday or Sunday. But yeah, I'm pretty bad about actually living a healthy lifestyle. And then I've had moments in time where I get inspired. Like, I actually have had an active gym membership for a year and a half, and I went a lot for the first 2 months, and then it's kind of just sitting there and I never go. So I definitely need some more motivation in that respect, like to actually go and work out, because I do think it does help you when you live a healthy lifestyle. But aside from that, in terms of like esports, like going to the next part of the question, I think esports definitely is going to keep growing. I don't think it's going to just disappear or be like a fad, because it's not always going to be like, I won't say one game is going to be the king of the hill and it's going to be like that forever, and as soon as that game goes away, esports goes away. I think in time, games will shift and new games come in, other games might go out. But I think esports as a whole is going to continue to grow just because so many more people are getting into it every day. And for me, myself, I love being a competitive player. I love the esports scene in general, and when I'm done, when I get to that point when I think I'm done being a competitive player, I really want to stay in esports. And I don't know what I would do now, but maybe I'll establish connections throughout, like down the road, and I might become like a potential caster or a manager of a team, or just something. I want to do something in esports still, no matter what it is. I'm passionate about esports, and that's pretty much it for me.
Yeah, well, in Warcraft 3, well, the thing is that I think he was too young to really shine in Warcraft 3, because I was the youngest player in top tournaments, and he was 2 years younger. I also think that the race played a big role, because basically there were seeing a handed player win a tournament was really rare. If it happened anytime, I'm not sure. I don't think I've ever saw that. So yeah, the race played a big role, and also the age. I think he was too young to really shine on offline tournaments in Warcraft. Even if in practice he did beat me a lot.
Yeah, I didn't hear the last part too, so.
What do you attribute your brother's success over yours in Warcraft?
Oh, yeah, I think he was much better than me, because probably he started earlier, like on 2006 or something, and I was a bit young on that, by that year. And actually, when I started to get better, the game kind of started to die. And I did go to a few tournaments, just like 2 or 3, but I wasn't that good by that time. And you know, they were my first tournaments, and I was a bit nervous. And I think that's why Lucifron has always been better than me on Vortix.
I mean, I think jet lag is always a factor. Thankfully, I bought one of those like U-neck pillows that you loop around your neck, and I actually slept like pretty well on the plane. So, and I slept at a time where it was like 8:30 China time. So I tried to sleep sorta around when I would sleep here. And then last night I slept a pretty good amount of time. As to the yawning, I don't know. Maybe I was just, I don't know. Maybe it's just because it was really early in the morning. And yeah, I do play with like my mouth opens when I play, so that's just something that happens.
For me, I would say in the beginning, I don't know. For me, I felt like I never really had any breakout tournaments or breakout moments until 2012. Like, I would always have a good tournament here and there, but it definitely wasn't anything consistent. I might do like something notable, like get a top 4 in a tournament, and like, I think the most notable thing I did before WCS was like I got championship bracket a few times from the open bracket in MLG, but those it would only happen a couple of times over a course of like a couple of years. But I think like the main thing that made me like break out in terms of like having just like a burst of success, I guess, was I had like a big issue with nerves and stress when I would play, and I would just like kind of crumble. Like as soon as the game got really intense, I would just fall apart. But I ended up taking a break from Starcraft, and I just like right before a big tournament, actually, before WCS USA, I literally played Diablo 3 for like 3 weeks, or 4 weeks before the tournament, and I only practiced for, like I practiced a lot before those 3 weeks, but I stopped playing Diablo like 5 days or 6 days right before the tournament to like do like a grind of games really fast just to get back into the habit. Recently, I like kept almost losing to people, but I kept beating them that are really good. Like for instance, like Idra. I remember I lost the first game against him, and I was like, I lost. And then I ended up just playing the other 2 games, and I ended up winning both of them. And I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna win then, because I didn't think I was gonna win. But like after you win, it's like really surprising. And then after getting those feelings, and then that kept happening to me throughout the entire tournament. And I eventually won that tournament. And after I won that tournament, it like gave me a new mindset, because I was like, if I don't just put too much expectations on myself and not crumble because I expect myself to do so well because I practice for it. If I just like go in with like, if I'm having fun basically, like if I do well, that's awesome. If I don't do well, I still got to travel here, I still got to meet other people, I still got to hang out, play the games, whatever. It's that new mindset for me definitely makes it to where I don't stress out and play bad. So just the whole mindset for me is a big thing, and that's why I think I've been doing pretty well throughout 2012. It depends on who you are, I guess. Some people are definitely mechanical players. Like they rely heavily on just routine build orders, and they just do them over and over and over. And if they don't get the build order correct, they don't necessarily win the games that they should be winning. So I think if that's the kind of player you are, like just a straight up mechanical player, I don't think playing other games is really good for you, because less practice isn't going to help you. But then if you're a player that's like more, you don't rely heavily on your mechanics and rely more on just like thought process, or just like you're a thinking player, I guess. It's kind of hard to put that in a good term, but like you just rely heavily or more on not your mechanics and just how you actually choose to play the game. I think maybe taking breaks or just like thinking about the game while doing other stuff, or not just like grinding games all the time even if you're losing a lot or something. I think that's maybe when playing other games and doing other stuff might help you. Careful. But I don't know. That's kind of hard to answer. I would say the only person playing other games hurts is pure mechanical players. And other than that, having fun and having a good mindset is good for everybody.
Is it wrong? Yeah. I don't think it necessarily makes you a better player in Starcraft, but sometimes it can help to like if you play too many Starcraft games, you may get too angry if you lose and so on, and sometimes relaxing with other games can be fun, and maybe that makes you play better. But I don't know, for instance, I never play other games. When I just feel like I had enough Starcraft for the day, I just watch TV or something. I don't really play other games.
Yeah, I feel more or less the same as him. I think it's good just for relaxing, but of course playing other games won't make you better at Starcraft. Maybe if it's another strategy game, it makes you understand the game a bit better, I guess. But yeah, I don't think it's good. If you are a bit tired or angry because you have lost or something, then it's better to go do something else, or yeah, just play other games. But I don't think it will help much. Starcraft matters.
Yeah, as for me, I personally love other games, but I really try and limit and avoid them as much as possible, because I think, I don't have too much time to begin with, and if you're wasting, it's not exactly wasting, but it's valuable practice time that you could be using for Starcraft instead. So, sometimes I occasionally play Counter-Strike or Dota, and I think it's good every now and then, maybe once or twice a month, just to relax a little bit. But in general, I try to avoid games other games as much as possible, even though I really want to play them, but I try and focus as much as I can on Starcraft instead.